I just wanted to give you a little bit of a look. This was a coffee that I bought, and these beans, you can see how they're, you know, irregular, broken, little pieces of stuff. There's even one in there with insect damage, the one sort of in the middle with the hole on the edge. These are not really good beans. I paid pretty good money for them, but you know, this is one of the things that you have to look for when you're making good coffee, is that you got to look at the beans, because if you roast these up and then you grind these up and then you put these into a coffee, it's not going to be good at all. Now here's another example. This was out of a 2-ounce sample. The dark ones on the right are the ones, that's the way it should look when it's roasted. But the others are all Quakers. So you got 2, 4, 6, 7 Quakers in a 2-ounce sample. That's not a good thing either, because if one of those Quakers gets ground up, it's going to make the whole coffee taste like garbage. So this was another one that had, that was 4 ounces and had 3 Quakers. So those are immature, unripe beans that got put in, and it'll destroy the whole cup of coffee. So there's, you know, there's quite a bit to getting your cup of coffee tasting really good. So this right here, when I was home last trip, I ordered this up. And what this does, you can see sort of, let me bring it over. See the end? This tells me the temperature. So I can put it, because this doesn't have any temperature, I can put it in through here, and I drilled a hole in the top so I can, as I'm roasting, I can put it down through so I can see what the temperature's doing, and then I can time that with the temperature and time and see what the correlations are between what the bean temperatures are and how long it's going, what the color looks like, all of those kind of things. Because, I mean, this little roaster is, what's it, the Fresh Roast 500 or something like that? Yeah, Fresh Roast 500. It does a great little job. There's a learning curve, like everything. And I'm just trying to figure out the better way to do it, where I can roast to a consistent quality all the time. So that little heat gauge gives me another little piece of information that I can use. So when I'm testing coffees, and we'll talk about the scale thing another time, but it's a big tool to have if you're gonna brew good coffee, or at least I think so. Well worth the money. I'm gonna take, this is a bean that I bought when I was home. It's from Burundi, which, if you're not familiar with that, Burundi is a country right next to Rwanda. Well, I'm sure you've heard of Rwanda. And we've had some coffees from Burundi before. They're really good. They've got some really good tastes. So this is a new one. This is the first time. I roasted this one 2 days ago, so it's had a little time to sit, but I don't know. I'll tell you how it comes out in a little while. The next part of this is I boil the water, and I've got, it's not a super expensive kettle, but it boils the water relatively quick, and it doesn't pour right, but then I put it into this kettle. I could boil it in this, and I've done it, but it takes a lot longer to boil it in this kettle than in the other one. But this one is the one that you need to use for a pour over. Otherwise, you just can't get the stream right. So let me show you. This is the easiest, I think, relatively cheapest way you can start brewing good coffee. And this is a Bon Mac. It's a ceramic. It's got one hole. There's different varieties of this, different ones, different makes. But this is basically the one I use for just a single. The Chemex is a different story. So you're going to take a filter like this. I got these at Trader Joe's. I think they're good. But you want to fold over these edges, okay? So then you're going to take that, folded. Let's see. You're going to put that, see how it fits much better that way. So now it's ready to go in. And what we're going to do next is I'm going to put water in the kettle and then clean this, add water to it so that we get any paper taste out of that. That is a burr grinder, and it's different than a blade grinder. A burr grinder has a much better process of chopping up the coffee beans. So you get the same grounds all the way around. You don't get a lot of fine and you don't get a lot of thicker. And it has different settings for coarse, fine, and then how many cups. This one is okay. You know, it's not great by any means. Eventually we'll get a better one that's more consistent. This one has its flaws, shall we say. But that's the basics of it. Remember, before I used to do it by hand. So I've wet the filter, that's all done. I'm going to take the water out of it, and then we'll put everything on the scale, because we're going to use the scale to brew. Okay, just poured the grounds, 23 grams, and you want to flatten it out a little bit, and then, assuming you know where your finger's been, put a little like divot in here. Okay, then you want to go to the scale and tear it out. So now we're at 0, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the timer, okay? And I'm going to put in roughly just a little tiny bit. I want to get all the grounds wet, but not an excessive amount. See, I want to come in somewhere around 50, 60 grams, and it's blooming, okay? You'll see this makes like a mushroom. The gases are coming out, and this is when the aroma and taste in the coffee sort of come alive. And you're going to do that for like 30 to 45 seconds. That's why the timer is important, so you know about how long you're doing it. Otherwise, you're probably going to be in a rush and you just go like that. So then after that time's up, what I'm going to do is I just pour in small, easy, not too fast. That's why you need this kettle. Circles, and I want to bring it up to roughly around 160, 150, 160 grams, and let it go down a little bit. And then I'll do one more pour, bring it up to the 300, and take it off. Now the thing with this too, any of these, is you want to make sure you take it off before it's actually finished. So there's a little dripping still on, because at the end you get a little bitterness if you wait till it's totally drained out. So that's the basics of how this pour over goes. But without this pot and that neck, you won't be able to do it. So again, I'm adding more, and it's just a slow, gentle pour through the middle, and I'm watching my scale to 70, 80, 90, 300.2. That's it. Now, okay, so now we just let it go down, and then we'll taste it, see what the smells are like on this Burundi. As it cools enough to drink, what do you taste? What do you taste like when it's cooling? What do you taste when it's ended and it's cooler again? Because it all changes as it goes along. So after I brew the coffee, what I do is I find the page in my book that I made the notes of, you know, how much green beans, I had 14% loss on this one, how I used the heat and the fans, when it changed, rolling crack, how long, and then down here, I'll make the notes as of today, dating it, okay? So today's 2/24, what I tasted, what I smelled, and then we'll do that again a couple other times to see if that changes over time as the bean ages. Okay, so you can see I'm starting to write down notes about what I'm tasting, smelling, and that changes. And the other part with this particular coffee is and I'll put that up and leave it on so you can read it. This is mostly done by women farmers. I think there's like 1,000 something to 89 men, so mostly women, which is I think that's pretty darn good. So if they can keep it up and make a great product, they'll do great. And the people I buy this to recognize that from. So that's one of the other reasons I'm looking at this coffee, is that it goes from these women in Burundi to the man who buys it, and then to me, period. Some of my notes, and this is the first one. See, I roasted this on the 22nd. I'm brewing it on the 24th, and there'll be other ones in here. And the other thing with this is, I mean, you do this for everyone, and you know, there's pages of these. When I find one that's good, I go back and duplicate it, see if it comes out the same, which in the past it has been. That's a key factor. The other thing is that Sid and I, there's only the two of us, go through and I'll taste it, mark it down, not say anything to her, and then she'll taste it just as black, give me her opinion of it, and then she's a milk drinker in her coffee, no sugar. So then she'll take a little sample with milk and see how that comes out so that we can taste it. Now in this particular one, this Burundi does have a slight acidic taste. She didn't like that. And when she put the milk to it, it changed the flavors a bit. So there was like a cherry cordial smell. The tastes were a little bit, and the acid was gone. So, you know, there's a prime example, husband and wife, and we both have different taste buds. So everybody's going to taste it a little bit differently, and the key is to try to make it so that everybody's happy with whatever that result is. Whether you taste cherries or you like acid or whatever. Looks like he just ate something too. Pretty fat in the middle. Don't know what he would have eaten, but. Well, we had the time today, so we went for, the tide was right, so we went for a second beach walk. And then tonight, are we grilling steaks tonight?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So we're grilling some steaks tonight, and I've got a little bit of coffee I want to roast. And here's one of those questions for you. You know, as we progress more, you saw the coffee part earlier in the video. And I realized that, you know, there's going to be, I don't know how many people, but I really don't know how many people. But as we, you know, eventually are out of Eleuthera and back in Vermont and all that, a lot of people had come because they wanted to see about Eleuthera and learn about Eleuthera. And if we're not doing that anymore, I get that. They'll, you know, they're not going to follow the channel anymore. Got it. But on that
sort of same line of thinking. If we're doing coffee integrated in with, that's better, integrated in with the Eleuthera stuff now, should I make the new page for the roasted and just keep Eleuthera and roasted as roasted? Let me know what you think.